has come. Radium Performance Mach One, the long-awaited review. Let's go. We're not just going to film a board. We just unboxed and go, wow, it is so wonderful, it is so cool. No, I've been riding it for 10 months, 10 intense months. It was the coolest adventure. When I saw the Radium, my heart skipped a beat. I started looking at all its photos. I googled more of its photos. And that was it. This thing won my heart. I was like, whatever happens, happens, but I am not ready to live on this planet knowing a skateboard like this exists and that I won't own it. That is the conclusion I came to in literally 15 seconds of looking at photos and additional information about this skateboard. The limit was 100 units. Each skateboard has its own number. For example, I have number 61 out of 100. So just 100 of these skateboards. The skateboard has a rather complex texture, different from all skateboards in the world at the moment. It has rubber wheels like these. It has metal suspension parts here and polyurethane belts spin here. Here is the carbon monocoque. Here is the battery. Here is the board that processes all the information and the controller. There was just a giant wooden box, all in an additional crate. The package was very heavy, it probably weighed about 35 kilograms. I somehow managed to stuff this box into my two-door car. To open this package I needed a hacksaw, a hammer, like a crowbar or something. Anyway, I loaded it all into the car and went home. I brought it home, somehow got it up to my floor in the elevator and dragged it into the apartment here. I spent a long time sawing open the crate with the hacksaw and finally pulled out this black, beautiful, stylish box. On the little label. Whoa! Whoa. Holy shit. Oh, fuck. Let's see. I can't. Fuck. Can you believe it? Thank God. Thank you for letting me finally live to see this moment. Fuck. Radium, fuck. Holy shit. That is insane. Damn, just like fuck, sun, radium. When I opened this box, I just put the board like this on the carpet. I just couldn't believe my happiness. I just ran around the apartment for 30 minutes, screaming. Then, for 30 minutes, I sat like this in silence, contemplating what had happened, because I couldn't wrap my head around the fact that this terrible fucking wait was finally over. And this skate is sitting on my carpet in Moscow. The first in Russia. Anyway, I survived that day, somehow went to sleep. The next day the weather was sunny, snow was still on the ground, but the sidewalks were already dry. It was a Saturday, and I could even afford to ride this skate. So the kit came with a remote like this. Regarding the remote, there were different versions. They didn't show it until the very end. Everyone thought it would most likely be a dual trigger remote, like a copy of the Phase 2, like Evolve. But in fact they included a Hoyt puck. The first impression was like I wanted something cooler. I mean, I thought the remote would be a dual trigger one. Most likely there is even one video from test rides. One of the journalists was riding with that exact dual trigger remote. That moment was caught on camera. But in fact they included a Hoyt puck, and at first I was like, damn, it is a bit modest. I thought there would be little menus, some sections, some cool features. You could browse and click around. But in fact, this remote turned out to be the best in the world. I'll explain why. It operates on a 2.4 GHz frequency, and this remote is considered one of the most stable in terms of connection quality among all electric skate remotes in the world. I mean, it looks, yes, super simple you'd think, but you really need to hold it in your hands. It is made fucking awesome. Here are the side panels, and grip tape is glued to the side panels. I mean, it fits in your hand just perfectly, absolutely perfect. 4 buttons, nothing extra. A power on-off button, a gear shift, and a T button to which you can assign some function of your own, for example, turning on the lights. Lights, this is done through a special program. And the R button, so you can reconfigure this remote for a left-handed person very quickly, in a few seconds. And accordingly, if for a right-handed person the throttle is like this, the brake is like this, you can reconfigure it and you'll have the throttle like this, the brake like this. An awesome thing. It comes apart with 4 bolts. It unscrews like this. I've already taken it apart once. The architecture inside is just gorgeous. Everything is simple, stylish, concise and high-tech. It charges via Type-C. And this trigger itself, it is made of metal and it has such a super pleasant tension. I really like this tension, really, it feels really expensive. But you have to hold it in your hands to feel it, and there are also these little teeth on the trigger itself. Just freaking awesome, I really liked it. And it fits perfectly in the hand. Now, what I want to additionally focus everyone's attention on is how the skateboard looks in real life. It looks absolutely fantastic. You know, the computer renders they had, right, and those super high quality photos on their website. I was thinking, well, something similar will probably arrive, but most likely it will be something more modest. No, when I opened this box and took out the skate, put it on the carpet, I realized that it was identical to all the photos, to all the videos. In person, it looks absolutely fantastic. It has a complex architecture here. Like you touch every detail and everywhere everything is made, not simply, not carelessly. And everything is just made very cool. This carbon monocoque, the skin, the design. And all the metal parts have this kind of faceting, a really cool one, these super powerful motors. The charging port cover, the power supply is located here. Why other companies haven't done this yet is completely unclear. The power button, just look at how beautiful everything is. With lights, with little inscriptions. All over the skateboard there are a bunch of different inscriptions, like this was made in Australia, this was made in Romania, this was made in Japan. It just has components from all over the world. A very beautiful board. It looks just unreal. It weighs 17 kilograms. It immediately stands out from all other skateboards. It is just, well, I've never seen anything like it. Just look. Well, it is a fantastic architecture. The skateboard was in development for 4 years, from about 2019 to 2023. 24 was when the most work was done on it. The wheels here are 125 millimeters. It is their own design, with a metal core in the center. They're made of real rubber, they're very grippy. And this version is considered the hardest with the white lettering. There was white lettering here. Well, the letters have already fallen off for me. There is also a yellow version, which is medium, and a red version, or the other way around. Anyway, they also have a medium hardness that wears out even faster, and there's a super soft one. They wear out really fast, but they have some unreal grip. You can just crush them with your hands like this on camera. The wheels are very cool. I really like them. Their only drawback is that because they're made of such top-tier materials, of course, I'd like them to weigh a little less, because each such wheel is about 100 grams heavier than, for example, 125 mud wheels. But they work, they grip perfectly, great wheels. Mine have literally worn down just a tiny bit because I don't carve a lot. I like to ride in straight lines. So the rear wheels that were on the back, I've already moved them to the front. I first went out for a ride on the skateboard around the 1st of March 2025. Of course, I immediately felt all the crazy power it has. The skateboard has 3 gears. The T button, which I mentioned earlier on the remote, for some reason I thought it was a turbo mode, but it is not a turbo mode, it is a button for assigning some custom function. There are 3 gears here. The first gear here is super calm. The board is as mellow as possible. It accelerates very smoothly, brakes very smoothly. And the second gear is probably my favorite. I ride on it almost all the time. And there is a third gear. It is the most aggressive. The board just launches. I left the house, got on it right away, put it in first gear. Well, I realized we wouldn't be riding in first. I switched to second, and then everything immediately became clear to me. Anyway, the first impression was that for a rear-wheel drive, it rides really well. That is, this skateboard is faster than an all-wheel drive skateboard. If you race a four-wheel drive and a two-wheel drive Radium, the Radium will be faster. That is impressive right away. And for a two-wheel drive skateboard, the brakes are really great here. I felt that right away too. They were set to 100% from the factory. The brakes are insanely effective. So the argument that two-wheel drive doesn't brake just went out the window on the first ride, meaning this board took all the standard ideas we had in our heads and turned them upside down. The second time I went out, it was drier. There were more open spots. I rode around, did a big loop here around our neighborhood. And the next one, it died on me somewhere around 35 to 40 kilometers. Regarding the battery drain, it drains very quickly and very unexpectedly. That is, it holds its power right until the very end. And the feeling, both for me and for all the guys I let ride this skateboard, is that it feels like it just accelerates endlessly. I mean, it passes this bar, this mark of 60 kilometers per h-hour that all fast production boards have, you know. It passes it like it is nothing. It happens instantly in a fraction of a second. So the feeling you get is that it accelerates endlessly, it gets scary, and you just want to let go of the throttle. I was only able to hit the max speed on it on maybe my 10th ride. I took this skateboard, put it in my car, and went to the Krylatsky Velodrome, which was completely renovated this year. And there I was able to push it to the max, like I was holding the remote and just redlining it. And that was it. It wouldn't go any faster. It was very fast. Of course, aerodynamics matter. The wind just wants to blow me off this board. I weigh a little over 60 kilograms. So for me, by the way, the second gear is relevant. I let some heavier guys ride this skate, like those who weigh 80, 90. They were like, nah, second gear barely goes, but third, yeah, fuck, it really goes. For me, actually, second gear is enough. I ride in second gear the most. Yeah, I switch to third gear sometimes depending on my mood, but the board becomes super aggressive, super fast. Now, I want to talk about the main discovery and the main cool feature of this skateboard. It is the RTS function, which for some reason I didn't pay any attention to when I was reading up on this skate. I just saw max speed 72 kilometers per h. Our looks great, cool, stylish, awesome, that is it. I am buying it. And the RTS function is its main advantage over all other skates at the moment. This abbreviation stands for Radium Torque System. And here is what happens. Inside there is a two-board double-decker computer that analyzes all the information about what is happening with the board. Like what speed it is currently going, the angle of the turn you've initiated, meaning how you've tilted it. And based on this data, it calculates everything, and the board alternately shuts down one motor. And then the other when cornering. So, in fact, we get an electronic differential, meaning the motors spin alternately when taking turns. For example, you turn right, one motor shuts off, and the other helps you complete the turn. And the same to the left, you turn left, one motor shuts off, the other helps you complete the turn. And this system is also active when you are just riding around the city. The initial feeling is a bit strange because we're all used to analog skateboards, as I call them, when we just hit the throttle and the motors transfer torque through the belts to the wheels, and for us it basically always happens with the same power, with the same force, and there is no such system. At first it feels unusual because it seems like the board is wagging its tail under you. You need to get used to it. You really need to take it out 2 or 3 times. After 2 or 3 rides, this system seemed, and it is the most logical thing for an electric skate. And you ask yourself, why haven't any of the other brands thought of this and implemented it yet? Because it is super cool, super useful. Thanks to this system, a huge number of risks are eliminated. Plus, especially when you have such grippy wheels. So it feels like the skate is just glued to the road. It is just like a Formula 1 car. Really, the board is just glued to the road constantly. And cornering becomes such that you don't think about what wheels you have, or if there is sand on the road, or if there is water on the road. The board does everything for you. You just shred and take the corners. And then another interesting thing came up. And it revealed itself when I took this skateboard with me to the racetrack. Here, the technique for taking corners is a bit different. I mean, how we're used to it when we ride regular electric skateboards. We're flying down the straight. We see a turn ahead. We brake before it, we go through the turn with almost no throttle, because if we go through with throttle, we'll most likely get thrown off the board, or the board will slide out. So that is how we take turns. So we speed up, brake into the turn, make the turn, and as soon as we can, we hit the gas and race to the next corner. Here, it is all different. In a turn here, on the contrary, you need to hit the gas because the board feels you turning, it throttles down one motor and spins up the other. You have to trust the board in a turn. It is very difficult to do when you've been riding one way your whole life, and especially since I have two other skateboards that are analog without this system. To just relearn like that in 5 minutes, it is practically impossible. Well, it is in my head, it is self-preservation instincts. So to hone the capabilities of the RTS, you need to work at it, you need to spend time. I personally believe I still haven't fully unlocked this system's potential. It has a huge number of settings. There is an app for iPhone where you can adjust all sorts of curves. Honestly, I haven't touched a thing. I've been riding on the same configuration since I got the skateboard out of the box. So I haven't changed anything there because everything suits me. So in the app you can also adjust the response to the throttle, and the brakes can be adjusted by percentage, so you can fully customize the skateboard for yourself. I also put extra protection on the skateboard deck because the board is quite thick. It is lower than all regular boards, and this carbon monocoque constantly scrapes all the speed bumps in Moscow. Thankfully, they're almost all rubber. So I applied the sticker just 2 or 3 days after I started using it. It is thick, several millimeters thick. It is a special sticker. It protects my skateboard at least a little, and you can see how scraped up it is. I'll have to reapply it soon anyway because a huge piece got torn out right here. Now I want to talk about another not so obvious feature of this skateboard, which I didn't really pay attention to. It has a working suspension. It is made of bushings. This is the back part and this is the front. There is travel here. This suspension travel helps a fast board like this a lot. I mean, if it were just a truck rigidly bolted to a carbon deck like all manufacturers do now, well, that would have consequences. Again, you hit some crack or some rock and the impact on the skate is much stronger, which can lead to a fall. Here, that has been addressed. It is just a fucking awesome suspension. I really like it. I think that this kind of suspension travel should be added to a huge number of current professional skateboard models among all mass market models. In particular, the Atlas Pro from X-Way and the onboard Zeus Max could add a feature like this, because on electric skates, the softness is currently determined only by the wheels. See? If you stand like this, you can see there is an additional bushing here that compresses. There are 2 double bushings here. These are for the suspension's shock absorption, and this one is for steering. So you loosen this one, that is it, and your steering becomes either softer or tighter. Yeah, and it is the same on the rear. But after I rode it, after those first rides, and I started using this skate every day, I realized I didn't want to give it up for a single day. I mean, I liked it so much. The feeling was just fantastic, unlike anything else. I was like, well, I'll ride it for a bit, resell it, and order another one. Anyway, I didn't want to lose that feeling for a single day because I understood that it was simply superior to everyone and everything. Because I can't get this kind of feeling from any other skate. Because after this skate, all other boards feel literally like a kart. It is just that all other skates after this one are like a jiggly with a welded differential. But this RTS system, it just really frees you up. You really get superpowers. Because you trust this board, the rides through the city happen at such insane speeds. And here the throttle is very solid, the brake is very solid, and there is also this RTS system. So you're basically covered on almost all fronts, and the last safety limiter you have is located right here. The main thing is to use your head and think about what you're doing and how you're doing it. And in January of this year, I also had eye surgery. So now I have 20/20 vision here. So all the stars have aligned. I have 20/20 vision. I have one of the fastest skates on the planet. So the high was just unreal and the feeling is just unreal. And whenever you get on the Radium, you realize that, yes, this is a sports cannon. This is a real sports cannon. You ride an onboard or something else. Then you get on the Radium and you're like, fuck, this thing can really ride. You can feel it right from the first few meters, what kind of character this board has. Right away. It just stands like a cannon. It just stands on the asphalt, unreal. It will never skid, no wobbles. By the way, regarding wobbles, I had a situation a few times. I happened to run over the road markings with one wheel at high speed. This happened to me twice. And one time I ran over something in the dark near a bus stop, some pressed down asphalt. Buses leave these channels from their wheels because they press down the asphalt with their heavy weight. And it would start wobbling, but it would come down. For example, I hit the road marking. It was during the day with one wheel and the marking, well, it is thick. And that is it. It starts and my speed is like 60 plus. And this crazy shaking starts. You feel like that is it. The board is about to throw you off and it literally makes like 3 movements like this and then it just calms down by itself. I don't know if it is because the RTS has a separate function that protects you from wobbles, or if it is just a coincidence, or if it is just the logic of how the RTS system itself works, because it alternately throttles the motors. And what happened was that the wobble calmed down by itself 3 times. So accordingly, I didn't fall once. Just fantastic. I mean, can you imagine how safe this board is given how fast it is? Although many people tried to talk me out of buying it, saying, fuck that, you'll crash. In fact, this skate is much safer than any other fast skate among professional lines, among mass market brands, thanks to these little features. How does a wobble happen on a regular skate? If you start to shake, that is it. You most likely, well, won't handle it. It'll throw you off. There is like a 90% probability. If you don't take some action in a split second. Around June or July, Radium improved their chip for static electricity protection, and they sent it for free to all skate buyers. These guys, they stand by their word and sent it to everyone. I didn't install it myself, I gave the whole thing to Gosha. I have a separate video about it on my channel. He installed everything neatly because there were still some places that needed to be picked apart to integrate it properly here. The gaskets here are very high quality, just unreal quality, some kind of very foam-like rubber. The cover sits super tightly on it. Here you can also see how high quality the cover is. A very complex texture like carbon. It is so light. It is pleasant to touch. It is all very pleasant to touch. Amazingly made. I'll say it again. This is where the main magic happens. The RTS systems operation. This double-decker board here. It analyzes absolutely everything that happens with the skate and sends the necessary commands to the motors. The axles here are 10 millimeters, very durable. They can be unscrewed and replaced if necessary. Nothing has bent on mine at all. Everything is great. On-board company. Take note of how axles should be made. The board is incredibly tough. It takes unreal vibrations. Absolutely nothing has bent. Everything is perfect, everything is gorgeous, a very reliable board. Here is the air intake and here is the outlet. That is inside. There are impellers that blow air through the motor and cool it. Because of this, because there are these holes here, the motors sound really cool when you really push them, like really hard. Also, by the way, for some reason many people try to call this skate out for having belts. Guys, please easy look here. It has an OptiBelt Omega HP 385 millimeters. These are the strongest belts in the world right now. In my entire life, only one has broken, one such belt tore. It was in the spring. A piece of marble chipping got under it, a very sharp marble stone. I was riding past a road, construction site, a stone like that jumped up, and it left damage on the belt, a kind of torn wound. And I rode a little more, and that is it. It tore on a subsequent start. That is it. No more belts broke on me all season. They never tore again. So the belts here are really very durable. These are the belts that absolutely must be on these skateboards. I have 385 belts. I also bought myself Continental. Not the same thing at all. The board became so spongy both on acceleration and on braking. These belts are a must-have here. They make a huge difference. See, you can't put any crap on here. Only original consumables should be used. Then this board will function as it should, as it was designed by the manufacturer. Now it is time to talk about the cons. And this is the hardest part for me because I can't name any cons. So the skate is surprising, but it is true. If you just think about it calmly, logically, I can't name any cons for this skate. Perhaps this is really the first skate in history that has no cons. Well, okay, let's say, alright, I'll name some far-fetched cons. First, you want more range. But the answer here is actually quite simple. If you want more range, then nowadays you need to put a bigger battery in it. And that creates a new minus, which is more weight, and it takes longer to charge. As a solution, there is a fast charger that can charge the skate in 1 hour. So it is kind of a minus, but it is also understandable and logical. The way this board rides, given that it weighs 17 kilograms, no other skate in the world rides like it right now. 17 kilograms weight, 8 kilowatts power. Next minus, well, let's say another far-fetched one, low clearance. Well, damn, okay, let the board be higher, but it'll handle worse. It will feel different, it will look worse because it is not dropped down. That is also so. Someone might say the price is a minus. I disagree, because for this money, it is a top-tier purchase for me. It is definitely a top-tier purchase. It was my dream, and this dream came true. So paying 350,000 for a skate like this, I think it is a must-have. And you will definitely get top-class positive emotions. You can't get such emotions anywhere else, and they are incomparable to anything. And as for the endless respect from others, only a lazy person wouldn't talk about that. So the price is definitely not a downside here. When I even started riding this skate, on the very first rides, I began to get to know this board, and all its pros started to reveal themselves to me. I realized that, let's say, imagine if in Moscow there was a store with these skates, and let's say they produce not 100 units, but say a series of 1,000 units. And you could go to the store, take a ride on a skate like that. If they told me that they were asking, say, 500,000 or 600,000 rubles for it, I would say that yes, it is expensive, but it is worth the money. Not in the sense that it costs that much, but it is worth that much. But guys, because they went through the trouble, I'll say it again, they really made everything with very high quality. It is just that no matter where you look, the craftsmanship is just top-notch. Nothing was put in here that already had a mass-produced, ready-made solution. That is, guys, when they were designing this board and when they were building it, there were no such conversations as why should we make our own suspension or some specially shaped parts if there is a ready-made one for sale over there. Let's just buy it and install it. It is faster, it is cheaper, it is simpler. No, the guys took it, went through the trouble, selected materials, tested everything multiple times. This skate has had so many prototypes, so guys, respect on all fronts, well done. And they made an app for 100 skates. And technically it is just amazing and sets a completely new bar in electric skateboarding. Just so you understand, this is their first skate. They've never made skateboards before. They just got investments, developed this whole project from scratch, from absolute scratch. based on nothing and made what they made. Alright guys, stay in touch, ride carefully, see you in the spring.